Hey, I'm Mark,
And I'm Chris.
and we're the leftovers.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
I did not agree to that.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Mark.
What's happening today?
You seem a little subdued today.
Chilling in the palatial Studio C. We love it here, don't we? We love it in Studio C.
Well, not Studio A or B.
Because we're not in those studios. We're in Studio C.
Did you put the badger in there?
And having a good time in Studio C.
Why would you put the badger in
Chilling.
Studio A?
Maxing and relaxing in Studio C. What are we talking about today, Chris?
I was wanting to talk about the badger in Studio A, but the topic for the podcast today is, I think, mental health.
Mental health. The health of our
Mind.
mental. I snorted. Did you hear that?
I heard it.
Definition.
I don't want one.
Well, what if you get one?
I don't have a choice, do I?
I kind of need my glasses on.
Talk about old age.
Talk about it. I don't care. A person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. Mental health is your overall well-being, whereas mental illness is when something is a little off center. So a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being.
Psychological.
And emotional
And emotional.
well-being. Just as our physical health goes, our heart, our lungs, muscles. Got some muscles there, Chris?
Nope, I'm a very weak man.
Or as I wrote here, or the lack of. These things all need proper care. If they do not receive proper care, you have a problem. If someone smokes cigs, I wrote cigs on here.
Cigarettes
Cigs.
for all the younger kids.
Let's call them cigs today. What do you say? If we're not. So, I like cigs.
No.
So if someone smokes cigs for 25 years, chances are their lungs, their heart, and other things are going to have problems.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you're adding very harmful chemicals into your body.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, we do that today with what's in our food also.
So we agree that smoking
cigarettes is bad. Yes.
for 25 years
I'm not going to say
it's going to cause you problems, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Just like being around the wrong people can harm your mental health, or not taking care of your mind can hurt your mental health. You got to take care, just like every other muscle in your body or organ in your body, you have to take care of it in certain ways, just like your mind. Us as humans, we need to be, we are social creatures, so part of being a social creature is being around others, talking and communicating with others. That is taking care of your mind. Also, learning new information. I mean, we want to learn, or most people want to learn, and so learning new information. Whether
Do you think most people want to learn? I heard that, and I'm playing it in my mind while you said it, and I'm wondering, do most people want to learn?
They want to learn something. It just depends on what that something is.
You don't think they want to keep status quo, keep what they got, forget the rest? I wonder. No, it's just a question I'm rolling.
I do believe people want to learn. The problem is. Two is. It's kind of like ISIS, ain't it? Is SIGs. Oh, heavens. The thing is, is that you've got to do a lot of times when you learn something, it takes the physical. You actually having to physically do something, and a lot of people
To
don't.
learn something, you have to physically do something.
So if somebody wants to learn how to weld, they think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
They physically have to find, for one, they have to find the welding equipment. Then they also have to, and that's a lot of the times physical, whether it's online or physically going to people.
I'm sorry, I can't unthink of what a guy that I used to work with used to say. I just can't.
What did he say, Mark?
I can't repeat it. You'll just have to. He said, "Hey, you a welder?" And then he would proceed with welding something on the, yeah. So if we take care of our heart, we take care of our lungs, try to take care of muscles, things that are physically able to be removed from your body and replaced if necessary. I know there are people we know have just recently had a hip replacement. That's taking a hip out and putting a brand new one in there. That's amazing when you just think about it. But those are things that you can physically remove and replace if necessary.
Your brain is not something you can do that with.
So emotions and psychological makeups is a lot of thinking, a lot of storage in your brain. There's a lot that goes into that. You can't just replace that with a physical hip or knee or wrist.
If you have a part of your brain that quits working, whether it's your long-term or short-term memory, you can't just go find somebody that's not using that part of their brain.
Plug it in, plug and play.
Yeah,
they don't have that yet.
Yet. But you're
probably working on it.
But you're absolutely correct. I mean, we can't replace it, so we need to take care of it. And there's a lot of, I think people talk about all the time, oh, people don't worry about their bodies, people are getting fat, and I'm like, part of all of that is your mind, because we've, as a society, we've allowed TV and
don't leave your wonderful cell phone out of there, Chris.
Well, I was thinking of other things other than TV, your cell phone, your YouTube,
attachment,
social media. We've allowed those things to do a lot of what we are supposed to do with our brains.
Yep.
And like TV shows, a lot of TV shows aren't meant to make you think.
No.
They're supposed to be a way for you to relax and shut down, and we do that quite a bit.
Relax and shut down?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Such as your mental health. How do you take care of your mental health? That's a question. I had wrote a couple of little things here, hoping that we would expound on it. But one thing that come to my mind when I was thinking about this for the past week is opening new doors, yet staying on a schedule. That sounds redundant. It sounds like one would not work with the other.
Isn't opening a door physical, though? You have to turn the knob.
Yeah, it is. This is psychologically. But if you approach a new, like maybe, I know a few years ago I got a gym membership, and it'd been years since I'd stepped into a gym, and I was apprehensive. I wanted to go. It's just the first step. And a lot of things we do is very scary.
Yeah.
And in order to take that step, you've got to, I imagine majority of people are like me, but you have to virtually psych yourself up and then physically get to moving to whatever goal that is. Mine was to get to the gym, much less what I'm going to do when I get in there. But I had to get there first.
Yeah, you've got to get there first, but then then you've got to deal with other hurdles, whether it be
That stair machine, boy, there's a hurdle.
No, I mean even before you pick out a machine or where deciding on what you want to do, you have to get comfortable with yourself, and that you have to get into that mindset of, I want to make myself better no matter what these people think about the way I look. Because I mean I can say that's one of my big things is I'm a bigger guy.
Are you worried about what others think? Does that hold you from? Because I think everybody would answer yes. It's what degree of that actually holds you away from opening the new door.
It's crazy that the more I think about it, is I'm worrying about what these people I'm probably never going to see other than when I go to work out, if they even show up again. I worry about what they're thinking. I'm like, oh, they're thinking that fat piece of lard is here, that he shouldn't be here. He should just be fat and on his own somewhere else.
Instead of thinking, those people might be thinking, hey, that guy's trying to do better. Yeah. You know, you're not even thinking that side of it, though. It's instantly negative. And I think a lot of people has the mindset of whatever door that is. It doesn't have to be a gym. Maybe you want to learn to ride a bike at 25. Yeah. I don't know. But you're saying, well, I'm 25. I should already know how to ride a bike. Why would I want to do it now? People's going to make fun of me when I fall off the bike. Instead of saying, I'm riding the bike. Yeah. Forget what people think. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They're probably just going to make fun of you anyway. Look at him. He fell off his bike. But what happens when you get on that bike again and you actually ride good? It makes you feel better. Yeah. You get emotionally, you get to let steam off. And that person sees that, hey, that worked for them. Maybe I'll give it a shot. And instead of worrying about them, now we're thinking about, and it's not selfish, but it is.
Well, there are times you have to be selfish about some things, and it's like you can't. It's the old adage that's in the adage.
I like adages and adverbs.
The story in the Bible, worrying about your brother's speck in his eye when you have a plank in your eye. It's like at some point you have to worry about yourself and taking care of yourself before you worry about somebody else. That, like myself, it's not for me to talk about somebody's weight when I can't fight the hurdle of my own of losing weight myself.
But and getting back to the gym, most people in that gym are thinking the same thing that you're thinking. They're thinking, what is he thinking about me? What are they thinking about me? Instead of just like, hey, I'm going to ride here. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to go here and ride the exercise bike for half hour. Or I'm going to do those god-awful stair machine, whatever.
Stairmasters.
Whatever you want to do. But instead of, I got in the mindset because I was very apprehensive, and it got to be very enjoyable because I wasn't worried about what other people thought. I was going there for me, not for them. And it got to be really enjoyable.
I mean, it should be for you because you're taking care of yourself. Yeah.
And dude, there was an older fella, and by older fella, I mean like old enough to be my father. And it looked like he had some knee issues because he had on like sleeves over his knees, and looked like it was trouble to walk. It looked very, very painful. But that man was in there every day because I went every day. He was there every day, looking like he could hardly walk, but he's in the gym for him. That wasn't for everybody else. That was for him to improve. And I really do. I enjoy to see people try to improve. Now, we've talked about physical, and that's something I could see the man had knee issues. He had some kind of surgeries and everything.
But because of that physical ailment, I'll say, it might have led towards a mental problem that he also had of trying to make himself better or worrying about what everybody else thinks. That kept him from trying to get through the knee problem.
I do think at the time I was going to the gym regularly, I was trying to work out some emotional stuff. And that gives me an outlet for that as well, because I tell you, you get yourself really tired. I mean, we work hard every day. And then you go and spend an hour or so at the gym. By the time you get home, you're drained physically and emotionally. You don't have time to think about what was or, emotionally. You're spent.
Well, I mean, another thing for me is I also have to worry about I have the mental thoughts of I'm away from my kids for so long every day that taking another hour out of my day to go somewhere else and not be with them is hard.
It's not. Maybe you'll be with them longer. That's a thought.
I mean, it's possible, But at the same time, you hear these stories about people that are, I can give another story of, I know of somebody through another person, and they worried about their health. They worked out all the time.
That it can become a problem.
It can't. He worried about his health, so he made sure he did not overdo it. He made sure he ate right. He worried about his blood pressure, so he changed his diet. He changed his diet a couple times, worrying about it. And at the old age of 59, he passed away from a heart attack.
Yeah, and some things you just have zero control over. Yeah. You can do the best you can, though.
Yes, that should not be a story of not.
No, that guy was giving it everything he had. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe, possibly, he prolonged his life from what Maybe he was going to die 8 years earlier, but because of what he was doing, maybe he lived longer.
Yep.
So I had wrote.
You have a lot of things written down.
So we need to learn how to cope in healthy ways, such as when someone gets upset, and everybody does it. Someone gets upset. How do you handle that? Do you storm off? Do you get quiet? Do you get alone? There's good ways to handle you getting upset. Now, if it's you and your spouse and they've done something that is just, I'm not talking about your friendly,
So your wife is yelling and screaming at you and you tell her, calm down.
No, I'm talking way, way worse. Way, not,
throwing plates at you.
No. She or you have really screwed up somehow. How do you handle that? Do you come back with this is the way it is, I'm the boss? Or do you go off and get quiet? Collect your thoughts before you say anything. To me, that's the smart thing to do. Difficult to do in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
But really the smart thing to do is shut up for a minute, get your thoughts, and say what you mean. Flying off the handle rarely works in your favor.
I think a lot of us in today's society find it so much easier to take the easy way out, whether it's fighting with a spouse, something going on at work. The easiest way about it is a lot of people say that the easiest part is walking away. Mm-hmm. But the other part of walking away is walking away to calm down, to then find an answer to the problem. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people,
just walking away is not the answer.
That is right.
Yeah.
All walking away does is prolong that blow up from happening again if
Yep.
you don't try to figure out the answer to the problem.
Yep. Being positive, to me, emotionally, mental health speaking, and I know you can't always be positive. It's taxing on someone if they're in a terrible mood, but they're trying to throw in some positivity. Sometimes you just got to be in a terrible mood and get through it.
But at the same time, you can't always be
part,
it's not.
You need to strive for positivity.
You need to strive for positive, but you can go the exact opposite. It's not.
I don't strive for being hateful.
No. You want to try to stay positive, but it's like you said, there's some times where you don't need to overdo trying to be happy and positive.
No.
Because that'll be taxing. But
I think it comes off to people is what you're doing as well.
But at the same time, you don't need to overly be negative.
No, because that comes off as nobody. You don't. You can do that, too. But you don't have to worry about anybody being around you for very long because they're going the other direction.
Well, after so long of that and nobody wanting to be around you, I mean, you don't think about it, but it is negative because then you find that being alone is the easiest place for you because you haven't learned how to deal with others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that when you are around others, it makes it that much more difficult.
Yep.
And I'm saying that because that's me in a nutshell. I
just had a mental picture of you in a nutshell.
When I was younger, I say younger. I did it even in my 20s.
That's younger.
I tried to stay away from everybody. I didn't want to put my problems off on others. I had no problem if somebody wanted to come to me and talk to me because I had no problem helping them deal with their burdens. A lot
of times that takes your mind off of your own, helping somebody else.
But at the same time, I didn't want to put my burdens off on anyone else.
There's a lot of people who feel that same way.
Yeah.
I don't want to put it off on you. Well, unbeknownst to you, that other person wants to hear your issue. Well,
they want to
help. It's a catch-22 there.
They want to help you.
Yeah.
But you won't let them. That's the thing.
But I also wonder if they really do want to help you. I'm sitting here questioning what I'm thinking now.
Well, I mean, that's another part of the negativity of being alone is you always try to find the negatives.
Yeah.
Does that person really want to hear what I have?
I'm usually thinking no, they don't.
But at the same time, whenever you're trying to help somebody else,
I want to hear somebody's issues.
You want to help.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's one part of not being able to have, I guess you could say, the empathy in that position of, I want to help somebody feel better, but I don't think that they want to do the same for me. It's that there you're having a lack of empathy.
Yeah, you're just telling yourself no.
Yeah.
But when poor mental health turns into mental illness, do we have any control of mental illness?
Certain mental illnesses, yes. Certain mental illnesses, no. There are certain mental illnesses that are inherited based on your brain's makeup. There are people that are more inclined to have certain what we would call mental illnesses like schizophrenia, stuff like that.
Do you think some people today, and I rarely do this kind of thing, normally I'm saying whatever's going on today has always been going on. But do you think some people today use their mental illness as a look at me?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
And why is that?
Because people want to be the center of attention. They want people to look at them. You hear everybody all the time. No, I don't want to be the center of attention. No, I don't. I don't want people to see my flaws or see this bad part about me. But then they go out there and say, "Hey, look at my problems I have here."
It's like an honor to have some kind of mental illness today. You know, it's like, oh, he's got whatever, fill in the blank. And
well, I'm gonna go somewhere that you're not gonna want me to go.
As long as you stay in that seat, we're good.
No, but there have
just
been,
stay in the same room and we're good.
There have been studies here lately with people wanting to be of the opposite gender or sex, that a lot of kids these days, the younger ones, a lot of them are doing that stuff, and majority of them will grow out of it, but they're doing it because they want to be seen. They want to feel special, because you hear on the news and on the TV shows and on these podcasts like our own where people talk about this stuff and they want to
be the best
seen.
Podcast in the whole wide world.
But they see where the mainstream news is flouting.
And I don't think kids watch the mainstream news.
More than you would believe. But at the same time, but all these kids shows that they're putting it into.
Bluey?
No, it's not in Bluey.
It's your jam right there, ain't it?
It's my children's, yes.
Mine was Blue's Clues.
Blue's Clues. They had a transgender parade on Blue's Clues.
Didn't see that one. Must have been later.
Yes, it was it might have been a couple months or maybe even a year ago where they were doing that, and they're pushing this stuff into our kids' shows, and so it's put out there to be something different, and so they're like, oh, I want to do this. They'll grow out of, a majority of them will grow out of it because they mature and they have the right people behind them to help them mentally. But then you also have to worry about the people that just have the people that'll cave in and let them make all these decisions and not actually help them, which is hurting them mentally.
Can mental illness get reversed, changed?
Yes, there are certain mental illnesses. Yes, certain mental illnesses you can. There are certain mental illnesses I believe that can be overcome and gotten rid of completely. There are certain mental illnesses that I believe can be helped by, you might not like it, but with medications to help the.
Why would I not like it? I was once a advocate of anxiety medicine.
You were once somebody that took the medications to equalize the chemicals in your brain.
I was that guy.
But you're no longer that guy
I'm not
thinking that. So there again,
I think it was for a time, and that's one thing I want to get to here is medications and mental health. And I know, let me give you a few stats here. I've got it written down, or I'll go maybe already
gone
there.
Crazy.
Maybe already there. 19 to 21% of Americans experience at least one mental illness. 55% have not received any treatment. So 55% of the, let's say 21%, so half of the 21%, have not received any treatment. Have you ever had a physical ailment that you did not seek a doctor, like a broken arm, broken nose, broken coccyx, that you did?
You need to learn how to say medical terms correctly. Coccyx.
You can say it ever how you want to say it. It's your tailbone. So if you broke your tailbone, and when you go to the doctor, they're probably going to make you sit on a donut for a few weeks and give you some Tylenol. You thought, well, you know what? I can do that myself. I'm good. So there are times when I've had physical ailments where I didn't go to the doctor. Yourself?
Yes.
Sure. I think everybody has. So,
well, I mean, common cold you don't go to the doctor for.
Well, I'm talking about a physical ailment, like a broken finger or a rash, something that you can see, you can scratch, you can feel. So it's. I don't think it would be uncommon to have a problem emotionally and not seek treatment. I think that would be as common or more common than a physical problem and you not going to the doctor. I think it would be just as common or a higher number of people not seeking counseling, therapy, or whatever you go see for emotional issues, mental issues. I think that 55% is probably really low, because they take a percentage of people that they've surveyed, yes, and this, that, and other. So I'm guessing that most everyone has had some episode of mental issues, whether it goes into the category of illness or not. I'm not the one to say.
Well, I believe that us as a whole society are working our way through the
cosmos of the world.
No, we're working our way through the connotations of seeing somebody about our mental health. You have something wrong physically, you go to a doctor. Mm-hmm. You have something wrong mentally, mm-hmm, and I mean, even 10 years ago,
don't you seek help? Should
you? Yes. But like 10 years ago, if you told somebody that you were going to see a therapist, mm-hmm, are you crazy? Is there something wrong with you mentally?
That's why I'm going to, and then we'll go right back to where we're worried to death of what other people's going to think about us.
Correct. And
same situation. Just now it's mentally and not physically.
To where now it's becoming less than the connotation of going to see somebody like a therapist is not as much of a taboo as it once used to be.
Yep.
There are certain things that our society works through to get to the good, but then at the same time you have to take the bad stuff.
What was that song? Take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
Yeah.
We have our song. There you go. No. We didn't have a song in here until right now.
But I mean there are some people that are overdoing it, mm-hmm, with, I've got something wrong with me, and I should be celebrated for using their mental
problem as a crutch.
Yeah,
yeah, like when your leg's not broke and you're walking around on a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my son used to make fun, and I probably shouldn't even tell this story, but I'm going to because I think it's funny. Like
you would.
At our local school, local high school, the cheerleaders for the football team, there's probably 20 or so. And there's always one that's got the sleeve on the knee. She's got the knee problem. So we always used to joke, because we would go to other football games out of town, everywhere. And there's always that one that's got the sleeve on. Not the brace, it's just the sleeve that you go to the DG and buy. The sleeve on the knee. So literally, it could be hurt, possibly. But it's kind of like that honor that we're talking about. I've got a mental problem, look at me. I stretched these ligaments in my knee 7th grade, and here I am in the 11th grade trying to save them. It was always a funny thing.
I mean, she could have a hurt knee.
But it's every school you go to, you can find that one. It's like there used to be a thing.
All that does is prove that what they're doing, as what every school is doing, is some of the exact same thing, and that exact same thing hurts at least one person's knee.
At least, you're right. And the other girl that has a really hurt knee, no brace.
I mean, you look at all these football players who...
You look at all of them.
You look at all these offensive linemen who have these braces on their legs, like the guys who...
They wear those for preventative maintenance.
But how much of it is the, hey, look at me, I'm trying...
I think they really work.
So what's the difference between that and the cheerleader who has the sleeve on her leg?
Well, it's not preventative, though. How do you know your left knee's going to do something? Why not wear it on both of them? Why not everybody wear one?
Who's to say something didn't happen to that knee?
That's not the road we want to go down. The number one most common diagnosed mental disorder is...
Anxiety.
Major depression as well. They kind of lump those together a lot of times for some reason.
I mean, because a lot of those are intertwined.
Well,
a lot of the time, anxiety and depression is intertwined.
Well, because if you look at them individually, though, depression to me, and again, I'm no doctor, I'm no therapist, I'm just a guy.
And just a guy that's about to give
that going to give some advice or idea.
You're going to give your thoughts. Not advice.
Advice. I can give advice. I'll advise you to listen to the podcast.
I'm not taking your advice on this.
When I think about depression, I think most people, if not all, could be 100%, have went through a state of some kind of depression, whether it was a small spell or a large spell, maybe a lifelong spell. I think everyone has somehow, some way experienced depression. And I'm guessing no one's going to say that was fun. Nobody's going to say, hey, I want to go through another one of those. They're probably like, get me as far away from that as you can get me. So when I think of depression, I think of sadness. I think of loneliness comes to mind. And how each person handles that, totally different. You know, some go to substances, some go to the doctor, some drive their car really fast. Just everybody's got a way. And so, but here's the thing. When I think of anxiety now, I don't think of those things. I think of nervousness. I think of maybe a little scared, uptight, heart going, a little quicker than it ought to be going, causing your insides to be abnormally upset.
Okay.
And so, yes, you can have them at the same time. You could be anxious, or depression causing you to be anxious about while you're depressed. Yeah. But that was strong. But you can have one without the other.
You can.
That is possible. I think more often than not, they are separate. You can have a broken arm and a sprained foot at the same time.
As somebody that deals with both depression and anxiety, those are two things I have been diagnosed with. The majority of people, when they have one, a lot of times also suffer from the other.
Very possible. I just don't think so.
But as you showed, that your statistics bear that out.
Well, that's why I wonder if this isn't coming from our specialist who label these things.
I agree. Our quote unquote specialists like to throw pills at people left and right and diagnose them. But I believe that the number of people that actually have these issues are a lot lower than what the statistics bear out, because of pharmaceutical companies and psychiatrists and therapists want the business of having these people.
Sure.
As
they're out of
regular
business
patients.
without that. Yeah.
Correct.
They don't have a job.
But me going through my depression and anxiety that I have, and that the medications that are given to me help me because I know the way that I am without them.
But you don't see those as separate. You see them as one.
I didn't say that I didn't see them as separate. What I said is...
So you couldn't handle, like, let's take care of one of these with this whatever regiment you have to do of anxiety or depression or whatever. And so let's take care of this one, and then we'll take care of the other one.
You have to figure out which one is the more prevalent one that causes the other. Because from what I have seen and from what I have heard from other people that also have the same elements of anxiety and depression is you have to figure out whether it's the anxiety that is causing the depression or the depression that is causing the anxiety.
Which come first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, for a lot of people, they could have had depression for a long time.
Yep.
And then...
what do you think anchors depression? Like, just keeps it in the bottom. What do you think it's just the person's makeup, or
sometimes it is the chemical imbalance that is in their body. Sometimes it is the way that their brain is wired that once they get something in their head, it is next to impossible to get them to not think of it that way.
So you think it's genetic?
It can be. Depression can be passed down through genetics.
You think we're all prone to depression?
No.
You don't think everyone's prone to depression?
Everybody will have depressive moments, but the ailment of depression is where you get down there and you cannot leave that state of mind. It's kind of like with anxiety is everybody has anxiety over something, but they can either take care of the problem or after a while that anxiety goes away. Whereas somebody that suffers from anxiety, they get anxious about something, and instead of that feeling going away, all it does is increase and increase and increase. And that's where somebody can have a panic attack. You might think it might be the dumbest thing that they should be worrying about. But it's the way that either the chemicals are in their brain or their body or the wiring of their brain that does not allow them to come down from there to where that's where talking with somebody, because a lot of people that I've seen from the stories that I hear from people, majority of people that suffer from anxiety and or depression are usually loners. So they've already taught themselves that I don't need to put my problems off on others. So they might have a friend or two, but that doesn't mean that they want to put their problems off on them. They're still going to bottle everything, and their friend will be like, I knew she was having some problems, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And
I think the majority of people fall into that category. That's what I think. That most people don't want to put their problems off on anybody.
That, yes. Okay. But for most people, they don't want to put their problems off on people, but at the same time, they have less of a problem of letting that problem go. I mean, a lot of people that have depression, their problems are what they fixate on, and that fixation becomes the anxiety.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I see where they're connected. no doubt.
But also there again, that anxiety, if it could be somebody that never suffered from depression before, and they start having anxiety attacks,
and they're thinking,
and
why me, and then start getting depressed.
Causes a depression.
Yep. So
but, I mean, that's only one
that's
part
just
of
an area.
Mental illness.
1 in 5 Americans. I thought these numbers were pretty high. 1 in 5 Americans experience mental health each year.
Mental illness.
Some type of mental illness. I'm sorry.
Yes,
mental illness each year. 1 in 20 experience a serious episode of mental illness in America. Those numbers are high.
And that's there again. We talked about it earlier. We both believe that those numbers are skewed a little high.
I think they're elevated for a reason. I really do. For sale of medications.
Yes.
Sale of therapy sessions.
I agree that those numbers are high, and it's probably quite a bit lower than that. But they've finagled with the definition of mental illness,
or who they interviewed,
or even who they interviewed. Yes.
So I found this to be very sad, very foretelling. But the second, you can't skew these numbers. The second leading cause of death among 10 to 14-year-olds in America, suicide. I found that to be very, very sad. Had no idea. 10 to 14-year-olds. So, when we talk about mental health, and that's what we're talking about today, for me, it hits close to home. My brother, from a very young age, he's older than me, but I remember as a whole family going to therapy sessions, a couple of them. And my brother had trouble in school. Smart guy, just maybe he's dyslexic. He never was tested for that. And I know a lot of people are today that you don't realize how they see things. And anyway, that's beside the point. But anyway, had a hard time in school. Grades were low. Played sports. Tried to succeed that way. And later on with the girls as well. That was his thing, sports and girls, not necessarily school projects and whatnot. So as a family, my mom and dad must have seen that something's going on here. We need, as a family, you don't single out the kid apparently back then to say you're going to therapy. But no, it was a whole family thing. And we all went a couple of times, and it helped absolutely none. That's what happened. So I don't know that mental health was understood so much then as it is now. You know, I think we've come away.
We've come a long way from where we used to be with mental health.
Yeah. And so we, you know, I guess my parents tried the best they could to make, like, my brother from a young age was very, I'm trying to think of the word here. I'm rarely without a word, but not defiant. But it was going to be his way. Like, I'll give you an example.
That's defiant.
Defiant, yeah. So we had went to the store to get school clothes for the year. That's what we did. As a family, every year about July or so, or June before school started, we would go and we would get school clothes. We'd get our shoes and so many pairs of pants and shirts and whatever. So we had a limit on price of shoes. I can't remember that limit. That was a few years ago. And so my brother, he found a pair of shoes that was over the limit. And my parents were like, no, we're going to stay with this limit. And he's like, but I'm getting these. And they're like, no, you're not. And of course he's like, oh yes, I'm getting these shoes. And so I say, you know what? I'll take these cheaper ones over here. Let him have the more expensive ones. I'm not patting my own back. I'm just telling you, this is how it went in our household. That if I had to give up something to make him happy, I would. That's just kind of what I learned from a young age. I know now that probably wasn't the most healthy thing to do.
No.
But that's what I did. And
you wanted to.
Later on in my marriage, I done the exact same thing. How did that work out for me? I wanted her to be happy, not so much me. And now, 51 years old, I got to think about me because I don't have either one of them. And the reason I don't have my brother is because of suicide. That's something I want to talk about. Because for a long time, I couldn't say this right here. It is very, very selfish. It's a selfish act. My brother was a very loving guy. He loved people. Didn't want to hurt. Now, once he became an adult, he was not so much like he was when he was a child, but he handled things. He was a perfectionist. Everything had to be neat, clean, crisp, the whole nine. And if it wasn't, it was going to be. And so it kind of drove me up the wall from time to time because me and him would work together a lot of times around the house and everything. And I would want to stop. You know, it's cold outside. Let's go in. No. We're going to get finished. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So I always gave in. That's just the way I was. But when that happened in the year 2000, you know, it just kills the family, the immediate family and extended family, I'm sure, but especially the immediate family. You don't get over that. It's an act. It's instant. They're gone. Their problems are over. Yours have just started as someone still living. And you have to deal with that somehow. I mean, at the time, I didn't think you go to therapy. I think you just worked with it yourself. Which now, I'm not so sure that was a smart move. Some people in my family went to therapy. That was their thing, and it helped them out. Some got on medications. Some didn't. But years later, I'm 24 years removed from the day that happened. I will say this. That was selfish. And that's not a word I ever associated with my brother. As an adult, as a kid, yeah, he got the more expensive shoes. But as an adult, I didn't associate selfish with him. But did he have issues? Yeah. Were they depression? Were they anxiety? Were they something else? I don't know. But he never got diagnosed because he never went to the doctor.
He never sought out the help.
Because he was ashamed.
And
that stigma has to go away.
Yes,
shaming.
That's
got to go.
That's where I want to get to the point of getting rid of the stigma of not of it being a bad thing to seek help. Mm-hmm. We are a society of me, and that even comes to our problems.
Yep.
My problems are my problems or no one else's.
Right.
And so I should keep them to myself. And where it is slowly eroding from where it was, mm-hmm.
I do say I think it has improved, even since the 24 years that I've had to try to deal with this. I believe that stigma is slowly going away.
It's slowly, mm-hmm. but I believe it's going to take multiple generations,
right.
Because the generation of,
I even think my kids, Chris, they were born directly after him passing, and I don't think they have the same ideas about mental health as my generation did. I think it's greatly improved.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'll say this: your generation is my parents' generation. Hmm. And then I have a single grandparent that is left, and hearing her sometimes talk about mental health and the way that she believes it should be taken care of,
totally different.
Is completely different. She is
now. My mom and dad. I don't know that they're your grandparent, but a little younger than your grandparent, because you have one left. I know that. That their mindset, and possibly because what we went through as a family, is seeking help is good and necessary. Yeah,
I hate for it. I hate that it had to happen.
Yes,
but your family.
Goodness. I wouldn't want anybody to go through that.
Your parents went through something.
Yes, Big.
And they were they
Throw it in the
loved
fire.
your family more than anything in the world. So they would take the stigma of people thinking that their family is so messed up and crazy because they're going to see a therapist. They don't care about that. They just want
Somebody to get
they
help.
want it to get fixed.
You know, at the end of the day, everybody's family is messed up and crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yes.
just take that, if we could, if it's even possible, to take that stigma away and say, guys, if you're feeling anxious, because my issue, and I don't even know if we have time to tell all this, but we might have to make 2 parts. There you go. Maybe we'll make 2 parts out of this, but here we go. So I had an issue with anxiety. I didn't know what it was, okay? So I'm working outside one summer, working on a pool deck, and I felt like I was having a heart attack. Of course, I've never had one of them either. But from all the things that I had heard, this seemed like heart failure. So I go in the house, get a cold rag, tell my wife, this is what's going. That's, telling somebody is a smart thing. And I've got all these issues going on. And so I was worried. It was whatever was happening, I was making it worse because my mind is, and that's what we do. We start thinking the worst. Okay, if this is it, is this what my last looking around on this earth looks like? So anyway, I got an appointment to the doctor, and he checked me out, did the CAT scan or the EKG, and all my heart rhythms were wonderful. He told me this. He said, if I was giving a heart seminar, I would show them your heart rhythms because they're perfect. I was like, wow. So, okay, that's not the problem, apparently. What is my problem? And he said, well, I can't say, but here's what I think. And such an honest doctor. I really liked him. And so he gave me diagnosis of anxiety. And I was like, well, I'm not anxious about it. He says, you don't quite understand what you're saying. It's in here. I'm pointing at my head. If you guys were wondering, it's in here. It's in your mind. It's in your body, and something. It has got you, let's just say, ramped up and to a great height that you've never seen before, and your body's reacting to it. And so he prescribed me some medications, and I'm going to say they really, really helped. He said, now, of course, like most doctors should tell you, I can't tell you in the future what your heart rhythms are going to look like. That's up to you. And your heart's going to get older. It's going, things are going to happen. But for right now, your heart looks wonderful. That's where the problems were coming from. But no, it was in my mind. That was anxiety. And for many years, I took anxiety medicine, and it did help me. But I got to a point to where I thought, what does life look like without this? And so I quit taking it, and I liked life without it. Different strokes, different folks.
Oh, because I was going to say, yeah, it's different for everybody. Yeah. Because I tried to go without my medication.
Mm-hmm. Did you honestly want to go without it? Or was it just an experiment?
It was a mix of the two. I did want to get off of it. Mm-hmm. And so it was like I did need to do an experiment of what I would be like without it. And I did not like the person I was.
Yeah. Well, how else are you going to find out,
I mean, with my medications, it brings me to a level place and allows me to. I still feel anxiety at times, but it's nowhere near where it would be. Mm-hmm. The medications have helped me equal out my. I can't say that it equals out. It allows me to let go at times, or
I've seen you dance, so yeah, it does.
And I dance magnificently. Thank you very much.
He dances, yes,
magnificently. Thank you very much.
Yes, he dances. But
And we danced.
I have one more question. Counseling. I did a little research. It said in 2002, 27 million Americans sought counseling for mental issues. Growing to present day, 2024, 42 million Americans have sought counseling. Why so many, or why has those numbers risen so much over 22 years' time? Why have we went from 27 million Americans to 42 million Americans seeking?
Because the population has grown.
Not that much, though.
But
so
when
I'm
you look,
thinking it's just awareness.
Part of it is awareness, but at the same time, you look at the scale of the number of people. That's not really that big of an increase when you think about. I mean, we are a country of 330 million, and not even a third.
That's people seeking help.
And
I wonder what that number looks like of people
that continually do it,
who will not seek help. Even though they have problems.
Well, you also have to think about that number of that's people seeking it. Okay, that also includes the person that will go once and never do it again.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that the number of people who have had a serious mental issue not seeking help is probably in the same neighborhood as the number of people seeking help.
Oh, yeah, because
that's a lot of people.
Well, going to see a therapist isn't cheap.
No. I don't know what insurance does for that.
Very little, but a lot of the time.
I think, just like I've said about Medicaid, I take medications for high blood pressure to lower it somewhat. I had rather the doctor give me an eating program and an exercise program versus taking medicine.
But that's not his specialty. He would have to.
Well, he's actually a nutritionist.
Okay, if he's a nutritionist.
What's the chances that my doctor's a nutritionist?
Very slim.
We have never discussed food. Must not be on my insurance plan.
Must not be.
The pill's cheaper.
Because a lot of doctors have their one speciality, and that's what they stick with.
Yep.
And so it's like you have a.
He did give me a cigar one time. It's a doctor.
A cigar a day will keep the doctor away.
Or keep you returning to him.
If you don't inhale, you should be fine.
I don't smoke, so.
Then where's the cigar?
I think I gave it to someone here at Coswell Cogs.
How dare you not give it to me?
Oh, I didn't know you smoked cigars.
Never. Well, I say that. It's been months since I've had one.
So in 2022, 33% of Americans experience mental health issues and substance abuse problems. I'd never even considered, but when you think about it, I'm going to guess a lot of times those two things could go hand in hand. In order for you to self-medicate your mental health issue, should that not lead to a substance abuse problem?
Well, who's to say that substance doesn't cause that mental illness?
Vice versa. Exactly. And I found last stat.
Yes, it's the last one. It's the last one written down.
52% of women sought help. 40% of men. We're talking about Americans seeking therapist counseling. The number of women. That's a new word. It's like swimming.
More women
seek help than men. I don't find that surprising.
No, because
the number surprised me. 52 versus 40%.
The 40% surprises me because that seems high.
Really?
Yeah, because
again, it's a percentage of people that they interviewed and called.
Yeah, but
I just wonder what those numbers really are.
When you look at how society looks at men are usually the ones that people look to fix the problems. you don't really hear all the time about the people going and, well, I say men going and looking for help with their problems. Because everybody comes to a man and wants them to fix their problems. They're like, well, who am I supposed to go to help me with my problems? Well, I'm a man. I should have to figure out my own problems.
That's not chauvinist at all, Chris.
But I mean, that's the way society looks at men.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. The people that solve problems are supposed to solve the problems. When you have a fire, you call fire
Marshal Bill.
Let me show you something. My wife will hate that.
Not as much as I did. Like I've got mental issues right now.
Golly. I mean, the people all the time. There's women in fire departments. There's women in police departments.
You don't have to make the special voice.
Oh, I do have to.
Just regular Chris voice.
But the thing, when you talk about someone that goes to fight a fire, you usually call them a fireman, or a policeman, or, well, doctors usually just, that could be male or female. But the majority of the people in these professions are men, because they're, I mean,
I wonder if there's a higher percentage of therapists that are women, because I would guess women are a lot better listeners than men.
Yes, which women are better caretakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why majority of
Dr. Phil McGraw doesn't count.
No, majority of teachers are female.
Yep.
Majority of nurses are female.
Mm-hmm. Majority of people having babies are women.
No, that's 100%. If you're having a baby, you're a woman. There's no man having a baby.
I know that, Chris. You know what we want to say?
Do you? Because you sit there all the time and talk about certain things.
You know what we want to say? We appreciate you guys listening.
Thanks for listening.
And we have a request. If you would text the number 615-330-3644 and text the word mental health or mental illness or some way I know you're mentally listening to this program.
What I would like to say is please share this with your friends, family, acquaintances. Put it all
in-laws.
Put it all.
I don't care who you share it with.
Share it all over Facebook. Share it on Instagram. I don't care. Just share it all over.
Yeah, share.
It would be great to have more people listening to our program.
We don't want to keep this to ourselves.
Sometimes
we want folks to listen.
And we'll try to do this again another time.
Yep.